The skies darkened over every major city on Earth as the Vectheri ships entered the atmosphere. Their massive vessels blocked the sun, casting enormous shadows that made day look like night. People stood frozen in streets, on rooftops, and in windows, their necks craned upward in disbelief. Captain Alina Reyes watched from the United Earth Defense Headquarters as the main screen showed feeds from around the world. Her hands gripped the edge of the control panel until her knuckles turned white. "They're here," she whispered. General William Hammond nodded grimly. "And much sooner than we expected." The largest ship positioned itself directly over New Geneva, the capital of the United Earth government. From its underside, a beam of light shot down, projecting the image of a tall, scaled being with 4 arms and eyes that glowed an unnatural purple. "People of Earth," the alien began, its voice booming through every communication device on the planet. "I am Admiral Karnaz of the Vectheri Empire, rulers of 17 star systems, and masters of the Orion Arm. Your primitive civilization has been monitored for decades. The time has come for you to join our glorious empire." The alien paused, allowing its words to sink in. "You have 2 choices. Surrender now and serve as a valued labor species within our empire, or—" The alien made a gesture with one of its 4 hands. On the screen, the view shifted to show Mars. "Observe." A beam of intense light shot from the Vectheri mothership orbiting Mars. When it struck the red planet, a blinding flash forced everyone watching to shield their eyes. When they looked again, Mars was breaking apart, chunks of the planet drifting away from a molten core. Gasps and cries filled the command center. Mars, humanity's first colony world with over 2 million inhabitants, was gone in seconds. "You have 72 Earth hours to decide," Admiral Karnaz continued, seemingly unmoved by the destruction he had just caused. "Surrender or share the fate of your colony world. We await your answer." The projection vanished, leaving stunned silence in its wake. 3 hours later, in the deepest level of the UED headquarters, 12 people sat around a circular table. They were the Emergency Council, leaders from military, science, and government sectors. "We cannot fight them," Defense Minister Chen said, her voice hollow. "You all saw what they did to Mars." "And we cannot surrender," President Alvarez countered. "You read the intelligence reports. The Vectheri don't want servants. They want slaves until they use up a planet. Then they move on." Dr. Eliza Santos cleared her throat. All eyes turned to her. As head of Project Phoenix, she had been preparing for this day longer than anyone. "We have a third option," she said quietly. She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table showing massive ships hidden under the oceans and on the far side of the moon. "If they want Earth," Dr. Santos said, her eyes hard with determination, "we make sure there's nothing left for them to take." General Hammond leaned forward. "You're suggesting we activate Phoenix?" Dr. Santos nodded. "We have the evacuation ships ready. We can get most of our people off-world before we trigger the atmospheric collapse." Project Phoenix's motto is clear, President Alvarez reminded them all. "We would rather burn our own worlds than surrender them." One by one, the council members voted. The decision was unanimous. Earth would not kneel. Earth would burn, but by human hands, not alien ones. The news spread quickly but quietly. Government agents moved through neighborhoods, telling people to pack only what they could carry. No panic, no chaos, just grim determination as humanity prepared for its greatest exodus. Dr. Eliza Santos watched from the command center as evacuation numbers climbed on the main screen. 50 million, 100 million, 500 million. "The Vectheri are hailing us again," Captain Rice reported. "Admiral Karnaz demands to know why there's so much movement on the surface." "Tell them we're gathering to discuss their generous offer," President Alvarez replied with a cold smile. "Buy us more time." In orbit, the massive evacuation ships emerged from their hiding places. Great structures, each the size of a small city, rose from beneath the oceans. Others appeared from behind the moon, their engines glowing as they moved toward Earth. From his flagship, Admiral Carnaz observed the human activity with amusement. "Look at them scurrying about," he said to his second-in-command, "like insects fleeing before the storm." The Vectheri officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, these movements are unusual. Our records show no other species has responded this way to an imperial ultimatum." "Because no other species has been as foolish," Carnaz said dismissively. "They'll surrender once they realize they have nowhere to go." But the Vectheri were wrong. Across Earth, the great exodus continued. The old and sick went first, then children and their caregivers. Workers vital to humanity's survival boarded specific ships equipped with seeds, animals, and the knowledge needed to start again. In her private lab, Dr. Santos activated the final stage of Project Phoenix, the planetary defense grid, not weapons to fight the Vectheri, but devices planted deep in Earth's crust years ago, powered up silently. "Atmospheric ignition sequencers at 30%, her assistant reported. "Ocean destabilizers ready." Dr. Santos looked at the small photo on her desk, her daughter Sarah, now safely aboard the flagship evacuation vessel. "How many are still on surface?" she asked. "Just under 1 billion, came the grim reply. "We need another 12 hours. But they wouldn't get 12 hours. In orbit, Admiral Carnaz finally realized what was happening. "They're evacuating the planet. Stop those ships immediately." The Vectheri weapons powered up, targeting the largest evacuation vessels. The first shots struck a ship carrying millions, causing it to shudder violently. President Alvarez turned to Dr. Santos. "We're out of time." Dr. Santos nodded and pressed her palm against the final authorization scanner, initiating Scorched Earth Protocol. Across the planet, thousands of devices activated simultaneously. The ground began to shake. Fissures opened in the Earth's crust, releasing toxic gases and magma. The ocean started to boil as underwater devices superheated the seabeds. In orbit, Admiral Carnaz watched in disbelief as the blue planet began to change before his eyes. Massive storms formed over every continent. The atmosphere itself seemed to catch fire in places. "What are they doing?" he demanded. His science officer stared at the readings in horror. They're destroying their own world." The remaining evacuation ships accelerated away from Earth, protected by a thin shield of human defense vessels. Dr. Santos stood at the viewport of the last command shuttle, watching her homeworld die by human hands. The beautiful blue marble was transforming into a swirling mass of storms and fire. "We don't kneel," she whispered. "Not to anyone." Captain Miguel Sanchez stood on the bridge of the HMS Thermopylae, watching the radar as hundreds of civilian ships fled toward the outer solar system. Behind them, Earth continued to die, its once blue surface now a chaotic swirl of fire and storms. "Vectheri warships approaching, sir," his first officer reported. "They're pursuing the civilian fleet." Miguel nodded grimly. He had known this would be a one-way mission when he volunteered. "Position us between them and the civilian ships. All weapons ready." The Thermopylae was humanity's most advanced warship, but it was still no match for the Vectheri fleet. Its purpose wasn't to win, just to delay. "Sir," the communications officer called out. "Admiral Chen is hailing from the flagship New Horizon." A screen lit up showing Sarah Chen, daughter of Dr. Eliza Santos and newly appointed Fleet Admiral. "Captain Sanchez, the jump gates at Neptune's orbit will be ready in 40 minutes. Can you give us that time?" Miguel looked at the approaching enemy fleet, over 30 warships against his one. "We'll give you every second we can, Admiral." Thermopylae out. On the Vectheri command ship, Admiral Carnaz was furious. "One ship dares to challenge us. Destroy it immediately." His weapons officer hesitated. "Sir, the human vessel is positioning itself at the Jupiter gravity well. It's a strategic choke point." "I don't care. Fire all weapons." The space around Jupiter lit up as energy beams streaked toward the HMS Thermopylae. The human ship dodged with surprising agility, using Jupiter's gravity to slingshot around and fire its own weapons. "Target their engines," Miguel ordered. "Make them work for every kilometer." The battle raged for 20 minutes. The Thermopylae took heavy damage, but continued fighting, destroying 2 smaller Vectheri vessels and damaging 3 more. In his palace on the Vectheri homeworld, Emperor Zivkora watched the battle with growing unease. No species had ever chosen to destroy their own planet rather than submit. And now, one human ship was fighting with impossible courage against overwhelming odds. "What are they?" he asked softly. Back at the battle, the Thermopylae was failing. Fires burned on multiple decks, and half the crew was dead or wounded. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, reported an injured officer. "Weapons at 30%. Shields failing." Miguel wiped blood from his eyes. "Time check. The civilian fleet needs 10 more minutes to reach the jump gates, sir." Miguel nodded. "Activate the fusion core overload. Set it for 8 minutes. Then abandon ship." His officers stared at him. "Sir, you heard me. Get to the escape pods. That's an order. Set course directly for the largest Vectheri vessel before you go." As the surviving crew raced for escape pods, Miguel stayed at the helm. He manually piloted the dying ship straight toward the Vectheri flagship, accelerating to maximum speed. Admiral Karnaz watched the approaching human vessel with growing alarm. "What are they doing?" "Evasive maneuvers." But it was too late. The Thermopylae, its fusion core reaching critical levels, slammed into the Vectheri flagship. The explosion created a miniature sun that engulfed 3 enemy ships and damaged 7 more. At Neptune's orbit, the civilian fleet received the signal that the Thermopylae was gone. Admiral Chen ordered a moment of silence before activating the experimental jump gates, massive rings built in secret over decades. "Captain Sanchez and the Thermopylae bought us the time we needed," she announced to the fleet. "Now we use it." As the human ships disappeared through the gates one by one, they left behind special devices on every moon and planet in the solar system. Once activated, these devices would make the entire system uninhabitable for centuries. The message to the Vectheri was clear. Humans would leave nothing for their enemies. Not one world. Not one moon. Nothing but ash and ruin. 5 years passed. The Vectheri Empire had a new enemy, one they could not find. Intelligence officer Tess Laura stood before the Imperial Council, her scaled skin reflecting the dim light of the chamber. Unlike most Vectheri, she had only a faint purple glow in her eyes. Some said this made her better at understanding other species. "The humans have vanished completely," she reported. 5 years and not one confirmed sighting. Emperor Zivkora leaned forward on his throne. "Impossible. Billions of creatures cannot simply disappear." "Yet they have, Your Majesty," Teslora replied. "We've searched 1,000 star systems. Nothing." The Emperor's forehands clenched in frustration. These harbingers, as our people now call them, destroyed an entire solar system rather than submit. They must be found and eliminated before others follow their example. Teslora hesitated. "There is something else, Your Majesty. Over the past 2 years, 17 outposts at the edge of our territory have reported strange occurrences." "What kind of occurrences?" "Equipment missing. Supply depots emptied. But most disturbing, all within a single night, with security systems disabled in exactly the same way each time." The chamber fell silent. "Humans," the Emperor whispered. "We believe so," Teslora confirmed. "They're out there, gathering resources, staying hidden. I request permission to form a special task force to hunt them." The Emperor nodded. "Granted. Find these harbingers, Officer Teslora. Find them and destroy them." Far beyond the Empire's borders, in a remote region of space with no planets or valuable resources, the human Exodus fleet had transformed. What began as a desperate collection of evacuation ships had evolved into an impressive fleet of habitats and vessels. Massive rotating cylinders housed millions. Hydroponic gardens produced food. Recycled ships served as schools, hospitals, and factories. On the flagship New Horizon, Admiral Sarah Chen studied reports from her scout teams. At 42, she had spent the last 5 years implementing her mother's plan. Phase 2 of Project Phoenix. The raid on the Vectheri supply depot was successful, reported Commander Reyes. No casualties, and they didn't detect our new stealth technology. Sarah nodded. And our new home. Commander Reyes brought up a holographic display showing a distant star system. The terraforming ships report good progress. Within 3 years, the second planet will be habitable. But it's not enough. Sarah finished for him. One planet can't hold all of us. No, Admiral. Reyes looked troubled. Some in the military council are suggesting a more aggressive approach. You mean General Wei? Reyes nodded. He wants to take the fight to the Vectheri. Start hitting military targets, not just supply depots. Sarah walked to the viewport, looking out at the fleet that carried what remained of humanity. My mother didn't design Project Phoenix as a revenge scheme. We're focusing on survival. With respect, Admiral, some believe the best way to survive is to make sure the Vectheri can't find us. And the only way to ensure that is to destroy them first. Sarah turned back, her eyes hard. That kind of thinking makes us no better than they are. Later that night, Sarah sat alone in her quarters, looking at an old photo of Earth, beautiful and blue, before they had to destroy it. Next to it sat her mother's journal, open to a page Sarah had read 100 times. We burned our world to save our people. Now we must ensure our people don't burn themselves with hatred. Survival isn't enough. We must remain human in all the ways that matter. Sarah closed the journal as her console beeped. A message from the scout ships. They had found something important at the edge of Vectheri space. Something that could change everything. The Vectheri mining colony on Proxima Centauri VII hummed with activity. 16,000 Imperial citizens worked the rich mineral deposits that fueled the Empire's expansion. None of them noticed the small, dark objects that entered orbit during the night cycle. From these objects came humans in advanced exosuits, moving silently across the colony's surface. Their suits, built from stolen Vectheri technology and human ingenuity, made them nearly invisible to sensors. Inside the colony's control center, General Wei disabled the communication systems with practiced ease. Unlike Admiral Chen, he believed humanity needed to do more than just survive. They needed to strike fear into the Empire. All teams report ready, his second-in-command whispered through the comm. Wei nodded. Begin the operation. Remember, no deaths unless absolutely necessary. Across the colony, humans deployed specialized devices that released an odorless gas. Within minutes, every Vectheri fell unconscious. Medical teams moved in, placing the aliens in stasis pods designed to keep them alive but asleep. Security recordings, Wei asked. Wiped clean, except for the 30 seconds you requested. Wei smiled coldly. Good. Let them see just enough to know who took their people. By morning, the mining colony stood empty. Every piece of valuable equipment, every resource, and every Vectheri was gone. Only the buildings remained, standing like silent ghosts on the planet's surface. When the supply ship arrived 3 days later, they found nothing but emptiness and one short video recording, showing humans in advanced suits looking directly into the camera before disappearing. On the Vectheri homeworld, Emperor Zivkora watched the recording for the 20th time. His advisors stood nervously around him. An entire colony, he hissed. 16,000 citizens, just taken. Intelligence officer Tess Laura studied the human in the recording. This is different from their previous raids. Before, they took only supplies and equipment. Never our people. What do they want with our citizens? Demanded the Emperor. Unknown, Your Majesty. But this was clearly a message. They wanted us to see them. The Emperor's eyes glowed with rage. Divert half the fleet to finding these humans. I want them exterminated. Aboard the human flagship New Horizon, Admiral Chen faced General Wei across the council table. Her face showed barely controlled anger. You kidnapped thousands of civilians without authorization, she demanded. General Wei remained calm. We took action while you were debating. The Vectheri need to understand we can take whatever we want, whenever we want, including innocent lives. They're in stasis, unharmed, and now the Emperor will fear us. Admiral Chen shook her head. Fear doesn't bring peace, General. It brings escalation. Peace. Wei laughed bitterly. They destroyed Mars with millions of our people on it. They would have enslaved Earth. They've hunted us for 5 years. There will never be peace with the Vectheri. Other council members nodded in agreement. Chen could see she was losing support. What do you plan to do with the captives? She asked quietly. Wei's expression softened slightly. That's why I wanted to show you this. He activated a hologram showing a small terraformed asteroid where Vectheri families lived in comfortable habitats. We're not monsters, Admiral. We're studying them, learning their weaknesses, yes. But we're also showing them a different way to live, without their Emperor's control. Admiral Chen studied the images carefully. This is a dangerous game, General. It's the only game that matters, Wei replied. The scout ships you sent found something, didn't they? Something that could give us an advantage. Chen hesitated, then nodded. Yes. My mother left one final weapon, something called the Phoenix Protocol. But I'm not sure we should use it. Why not? Because, Chen said quietly, it's designed to destroy entire worlds. We found them. Officer Tessalora rushed into the Emperor's private chambers, forgetting all protocol in her excitement. Your Majesty, we've located the humans. Emperor Zivkora rose from his meditation pool, his scales glistening. Where? A small planet at the edge of the Antara sector. Our long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures. When we enhanced the images, she projected a hologram showing human structures on an uninhabited world. The Emperor studied the images with all 4 of his eyes. How many? Preliminary scans suggest at least 2 million humans. They'd built settlements across the northern continent. For the first time in years, the Emperor smiled. Prepare the fleet. I will lead this mission personally. Across the Empire, warships gathered. The largest armada ever assembled, over 200 vessels, prepared to eliminate humanity once and for all. Meanwhile, on the human flotilla, Commander Javier Reyes received an urgent message from their spy network within the Vectheri communication system. Admiral Chen, he called, rushing onto the bridge of the New Horizon. The Vectheri are mobilizing their entire fleet. They think they found us. Admiral Chen frowned. That's impossible. Our fleet hasn't settled on any planet. They found the decoy world, Reyes explained. The one your mother prepared before Earth was destroyed. Understanding dawned on Chen's face. Project Mirage, the automated holographic colony. She immediately called an emergency council meeting. General Wei and the other military leaders gathered around the strategy table as Chen explained the situation. The Vectheri have found the decoy planet my mother established years ago. It's a trap designed to lure them in. What kind of trap? General Wei asked. Chen hesitated. The Phoenix Protocol. The planet's core has been fitted with experimental gravitational devices. When activated, they will cause the core to collapse in on itself, creating a black hole. Wei finished, his eyes widening. That would destroy not just the planet, but any ships in orbit. Exactly, Chen confirmed. But we never intended to use it. It was a last resort. Wei leaned forward. The Vectheri are committing their entire fleet to this attack. We could eliminate their military strength in one blow. Commander Reyes looked troubled. Is this who we are now? Destroying entire fleets through deception. This is war, Wei countered. A war they started when they destroyed Mars and threatened Earth. Admiral Chen stood silently by the viewport, her mother's journal clutched in her hand. Finally, she turned to face the council. "Prepare a small stealth team. We'll send them to activate the protocol." Her voice was heavy. "But they must wait until I give the final order. I want to see how the Vectheri approach this first." 3 days later, a human stealth ship watched from hiding as the massive Vectheri armada surrounded the decoy planet. Emperor Zivkora's flagship took position in high orbit. Inside the stealth ship, Commander Reyes observed the Vectheri deployment. Something felt wrong. "They're sending ground forces," he reported to Admiral Chen via secure channel. "Thousands of troops. Why would they do that if they plan to destroy the planet?" On the new horizon, Chen watched the live feed with growing unease. "They want to capture humans, not just kill them." "There are no actual humans down there," Reyes reminded her. "Just holograms and automated systems." "They don't know that," Chen replied. "Hold position and continue monitoring." On the Vectheri flagship, Emperor Zivkora watched as the first wave of troops landed on the planet's surface. "Bring me human prisoners," he ordered. "I want to understand these creatures before we eliminate them." In the shadows of an asteroid belt, Commander Reyes' finger hovered over the activation control for the Phoenix Protocol. The Vectheri fleet was perfectly positioned. One command would end the war. Yet he hesitated, troubled by the moral weight of such massive destruction. "Admiral," he whispered, "are we becoming what we hate?" Officer Tessalora moved silently through the archives of the Imperial Library. As the Emperor's trusted intelligence agent, she had access to records few Vectheri ever saw. Something about the humans troubled her. Why would an entire species choose death over submission? The answer came in a sealed file marked Species Pacification, Historical Record. With trembling hands, she opened it and began to read. What she found shattered everything she believed about her empire. The Vectheri hadn't always ruled 17 systems. Their empire had been built by systematically eliminating 12 other sentient species. Some had been worked to death as slaves. Others had their planets stripped of resources until nothing remained. A few had been completely wiped out when they resisted. "We're not the glorious civilization I've served," she whispered to herself. "We're exterminators." 3 days later, a small unmarked ship approached the human stealth vessel hiding near the decoy planet. Commander Reyes prepared to destroy it until a transmission came through, in perfect human English. "Please don't fire. I come alone. I have information vital to humanity's survival." To everyone's shock, a Vectheri female emerged from the ship. Tessalora had taken an enormous risk. Aboard the New Horizon, Admiral Chen studied the Vectheri defector through the holding cell's transparent wall. General Wei stood beside her, his hand resting on his sidearm. "It's obviously a trap," Wei said darkly. "Then why come alone in an unarmed vessel?" Chen countered. Wei shrugged. "To gain our trust before the main attack." Chen turned to Tessalora. "Why should we believe anything you say?" The Vectheri officer held out a data crystal. "Because I brought proof of what my empire has done, and because I know the Emperor's defensive codes for the homeworld." Wei's eyes narrowed. "Homeworld codes? Why would you betray your own people?" "Because they aren't who I thought they were," Tessalora replied simply. "I joined Imperial intelligence to protect my people. Instead, I discovered we're the monsters of the galaxy." After 3 days of careful verification, Admiral Chen called a private meeting with her most trusted advisors. The data Tessalora provided had been confirmed as genuine. "The defector's information checks out," Chen announced. "The Vectheri have destroyed multiple civilizations before us. We're just the first to fight back effectively." "Then we should use the Phoenix Protocol immediately," General Wei argued. "Wipe out their fleet while we have the chance." Commander Reyes shook his head. "And become the 13th species they've eliminated." "No, there must be another way." Chen looked thoughtful. "Tessalora says many Vectheri don't know their empire's true history. The Emperor keeps it hidden." "So," we demanded. "So perhaps our enemy isn't the Vectheri people, Chen said slowly. Maybe it's just their leadership. Later, Chen visited Tzlora's quarters, where the defector was being kept under guard. The Vectheri stood as Chen entered. Have you decided whether to trust me? Tzlora asked. I'm working on it, Chen replied. Tell me about your homeworld's defenses again. As Tzlora explained the complex defensive grid protecting the Vectheri homeworld, Chen listened carefully. A plan was forming in her mind, not for destruction, but for something far more difficult. What if, Chen asked slowly, instead of destroying your people, we helped free them from the Emperor? Tzlora's eyes widened. Is that possible? I don't know, Chen admitted. But my mother believed we should remain human in all the ways that matter. Genocidal revenge doesn't fit that vision. Unknown to either of them, General Wei listened from outside the door, his face darkening with each word. In his mind, Chen was being naive. There could be no peace with the Vectheri, only victory through complete destruction. That night, Wei secretly gathered his loyal officers. Admiral Chen has been compromised, he told them. She trusts the alien more than her own people. We need to take matters into our own hands. The split among the human leadership had begun. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before a massive viewport, watching as specialized ships moved into position around a familiar blue-white planet. Earth, or what remained of it. 5 years after humanity had scorched their homeworld, they had returned to heal it. Operation Lazarus is ready to begin, Admiral, reported Dr. Quan, head of the terraforming division. All ships are in position. Chen nodded. Start the atmospheric cleansing. Let's bring Earth back to life. Across the solar system, terraforming vessels deployed millions of specialized nanites designed to purify the toxic atmosphere, cool the boiling oceans, and stabilize the damaged crust. It would take years, but Earth would live again. On the Vectheri homeworld, Emperor Zivkora received an urgent message from his sensor outposts. Impossible, he whispered, studying the images. Human ships had returned to Earth's orbit, but instead of weapons, they were deploying terraforming technology. They're restoring the planet they destroyed, reported a confused science officer. The Emperor's 4 eyes narrowed. This is a symbolic act of defiance. They're showing they can undo what they did. He rose from his throne. I will crush this myself. Prepare my flagship and a full battle fleet. We depart immediately. Meanwhile, aboard the New Horizon, Admiral Chen confronted General Wei. I know what you're planning, she said coldly. A team loyal to me intercepted your communications. Wei didn't deny it. You would trust an alien over your own kind. You planned to negotiate with monsters who destroyed Mars and forced us to burn Earth. Not with the Emperor, Chen clarified. With the Vectheri people. There's a difference. A foolish distinction, Wei snapped. While you waste time on Earth, I'll use the defectors' codes to strike at their homeworld. End this war once and for all. I've relieved you of command, Chen informed him. Security will escort you to quarters. As guards led Wei away, Tzlora approached Chen. The Emperor is mobilizing. A battle fleet is heading toward Earth. He's leading it personally. Chen smiled grimly. Good. That's exactly what we wanted. 3 days later, the Vectheri battle fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Earth's orbit. The Emperor's massive flagship led the formation, weapons powered and ready. Human vessels detected, reported a Vectheri officer. But something's wrong. They're not fleeing or preparing to fight. On the main screen, Admiral Chen's face appeared. Emperor Zivkora, we've been expecting you. Surrender or be destroyed, the Emperor demanded. Chen smiled. Look around you, Emperor. Suddenly, human ships appeared all around the Vectheri fleet, dropping their stealth fields. They had been waiting, hidden, using technology reverse-engineered from Vectheri designs, but improved by human ingenuity. Before the Emperor could order an attack, precision strikes disabled the propulsion systems of every Vectheri ship, not destroying them, just immobilizing them. Impossible. The Emperor raged as his flagship's engines went dead. How did they target our exact engine locations? On her bridge, Admiral Chen stood beside Teslora. "Thank you for the detailed schematics of Vectheri warships," she said quietly. Chen addressed the Emperor again. "We could have destroyed your entire fleet, just as you would have destroyed ours. Instead, we chose a different path." "What do you want?" the Emperor demanded. "Terms of surrender," Chen replied. "Not for humans, but for you, Emperor Zivkora. This war ends today, but not with extinction. It ends with change." As the Emperor sputtered in rage, Chen's ships surrounded his disabled fleet. For the first time in its history, the mighty Vectheri Empire faced defeat, not through annihilation, but through precision and restraint. On a hidden vessel at the edge of the system, General Wei watched the encounter through a secure feed. "Fools," he muttered. "They've captured the Emperor but left the homeworld vulnerable." He turned to his loyal followers. "Prepare for immediate departure. We'll finish what should have been done years ago." Emperor Zivkora sat rigidly in the command chair of the orbital station above Earth. No longer a throne, just a simple human-designed seat. His 4 hands were unbound, but armed guards stood nearby. Through the viewport, he could see his flagship and fleet, still disabled and surrounded by human vessels. Admiral Chen entered the room, followed by Teslora. The Emperor glared at his former intelligence officer. "Traitor," he hissed. "I betrayed your lies, not my people." Teslora replied calmly. Chen took a seat across from the Emperor. "Your fleet is captured. Your position is compromised. Now we talk." "Vectheri do not negotiate with lesser species," the Emperor declared. Chen smiled thinly. "Yet here you are." She activated a hologram showing the partially restored Earth. "We're healing the world we burned. Not out of regret, but because we refuse to let your aggression define our future." The Emperor scoffed. "You burned your world and ran. How does this make you strong?" "Because we had a choice," Chen said. "Kneel or burn. We chose a third option: to survive, adapt, and return." She leaned forward. "We could have destroyed your homeworld many times over using your coordinates, but we chose a different path." "Weakness," the Emperor sneered. Chen pressed a button, and a hologram changed. It now showed thousands of stasis pods, each containing a sleeping Vectheri civilian. "These are your people, taken from colonies over the past 5 years, Chen explained. "We could have killed them. Instead, we kept them safe, studied your biology, learned your language." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in the Emperor's eyes. "We could have been as monstrous as you," Chen continued, "but we chose to be better. Now I offer terms: the dissolution of your empire, freedom for all subjugated worlds, and a tribunal for those who ordered genocide against other species. The Vectheri will never accept." The Emperor began, but a sudden alarm cut him off. A communications officer burst into the room. "Admiral, we've detected a human vessel leaving the system at high speed. It's heading directly for the Vectheri homeworld." Chen's face paled. "Wei," she whispered. She turned to the Emperor. "Your homeworld is in danger. General Wei has broken away with a faction of our forces. He plans to destroy your planet and everyone on it. You claim mercy while plotting destruction." The Emperor roared. "No." Chen's voice was sharp. "This is against my orders. But Wei believes the only way to end this war is to eliminate your species entirely." Teslora stepped forward. "He's using the Phoenix Protocol, isn't he?" Chen nodded grimly. "We need to stop him." She looked directly at the Emperor. "Help us prevent this genocide, and prove that both our species can be better." For a long moment, the Emperor was silent, his 4 eyes studying Chen's face for deception. Finally, he spoke. "What do you need?" "The override codes for your homeworld's defensive grid," Chen said. "We need to warn them, and get our ships past their defenses to stop Wei." The Emperor hesitated, then slowly began to speak a complex series of codes. Within minutes, Chen was aboard the fastest human vessel, racing toward the Vectheri homeworld. Tislora sat beside her, while the Emperor remained under guard on the station. "If Wei succeeds," Tislora said quietly, "billions of my people will die." "He won't succeed," Chen promised. "I won't let humanity become what we fought against." In her hand, she held her mother's journal, open to the final page. "The true test of humanity isn't how we treat our friends, but how we treat those who try to destroy us." Ahead of them, General Wei's ship had already arrived at the Vectheri homeworld, preparing to deploy the planet-killer weapon that would turn a living world into a collapsing star. Admiral Chen's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Vectheri homeworld. The beautiful blue-green planet looked peaceful from orbit, its billions of inhabitants unaware of the danger approaching them. "General Wei's ship is in high orbit," reported the sensor officer. "He's deploying the Phoenix device now." "Open a channel," Chen ordered. Wei's face appeared on the screen, his expression hardening when he saw Chen. "You're too late, Admiral. The device is already activated." "This is wrong, Wei," Chen said firmly. "We're about to commit the same crime we condemned the Vectheri for. They destroyed Mars. They forced us to burn Earth." Wei shouted. "This ends today." "Not like this," Chen replied. "We have the Emperor. The war is over." Wei laughed bitterly. "And you believe his promises? The moment we release him, they'll rebuild their fleet and hunt us down again." Chen glanced at Tislora. "Not all Vectheri are like the Emperor. Most don't even know the true history of their empire." Wei's eyes narrowed. "You trust the word of one defector over the safety of our entire species. I'm doing what you lack the courage to do." "Firing solutions locked," Chen's weapons officer announced quietly. Chen closed her eyes briefly. "General Wei, I order you to stand down and deactivate the Phoenix device." "I cannot do that, Admiral." "Then you leave me no choice." Chen nodded to her weapons officer. "Fire." Precision weapons struck Wei's ship, targeting its engines and weapon systems while avoiding the areas where the crew would be located. Wei's face showed shock as his ship shuddered. "You're firing on your own people. To save them." He gestured toward the planet below. "Yes," Chen said simply. "Because that's who we are. We don't destroy worlds full of innocent lives. Not even our enemies' worlds." As Wei's disabled ship drifted, Chen's team boarded and secured the Phoenix device with just minutes to spare. 1 year later, representatives from 23 species gathered on the partly restored Earth. The room fell silent as Admiral Chen walked in, followed by a surprising companion, former Emperor Zivkora, now dressed in simple civilian clothes. "Welcome to the first meeting of the Galactic Concordat," Chen announced. "Today, we sign a treaty not of conquest, but of cooperation." She turned to the former emperor. "Citizen Ziv, would you like to address the gathering?" The Vectheri nodded, stepping forward. His once imperious posture was gone, replaced by something more thoughtful. "My people called humans harbingers, bringers of destruction," he began. "We were wrong. They showed strength not by destroying worlds, but by choosing not to." He looked directly at Chen. "When General Wei prepared to destroy our homeworld, Admiral Chen fired upon her own people to save billions of Vectheri lives. That day, I finally understood what true power is." After the ceremony, Chen walked through a memorial garden planted where the old UED headquarters once stood. Stone markers commemorated both humans and Vectheri who had died in the conflict. Tislora joined her, now serving as the Vectheri ambassador to Earth. "The first group of Earth-born children will start school next month," she said. "Vectheri and human children learning together." Chen smiled. "My mother would have been proud." They stopped at a simple stone bearing Dr. Eliza Santo's name. Beneath it was carved, "We did not kneel before the Empire. We did not burn their worlds to dust. We chose the harder path. We chose to build something better." In the distance, the setting sun glinted off new buildings rising from Earth's healing surface. Above them, ships from a dozen worlds moved peacefully through the sky. Not an invasion fleet, but visitors, traders, and allies. Earth lived again, and humanity had kept its soul.